What's up, dudes and girls? We're here doing the mobility band. It is stage 2.5, the advanced stage. It is day 2, upper body, baby. Yeah, I'm ready. Let's get going. First exercise, it's gonna be a superset. It is the advanced stage, so now is the time for the supersets. Going from one exercise immediately onto the next, and it's gonna start with bent over rows, supersetted with shrugs. Both 12 repetitions. Of course, with the bent over rows, you're really working on your lats, the biceps, the rear delts, but also the traps quite a bit too. Of course, that is part of the back, and immediately going on to the shrugs, those traps are burning by the end of those 12 reps on those shrugs. Whew, feeling good. Bent over row is probably one of our favorite back exercises. It is a horizontal pull, meaning it's kind of pulling more horizontally even though you're bent over in that position. So it's really working a little bit different than a vertical pull, like a pull down or a pull up or stuff like that. So it's always good to switch those movements up. This one is definitely great to kind of build that nice back thickness, but you're not only working the back, there's a lot of other muscles, especially your core as well, because you're really gonna have to stabilize your spine in that bent over position. So if you do feel that lower back activate, that is a good thing. You just wanna make sure you're bracing your core accordingly throughout the full range of each repetition, so that way you feel really stable and you're working all the right muscles and your back is never in a compromised position here. But with the bands, the resistance can change, and that can be dictated on your stance as well. So if you have a narrow stance, it's gonna be a little less resistance, but if you really widen your stance, it's gonna increase the resistance. So that's a really good thing about the bands. They're very adjustable. It's a quick change as far as stance goes to increase the resistance or decrease it. So that's a really good way to be able to activate the muscles properly as well. So if it feels a little bit too difficult, decrease the stance and then continue repetition. So another great way to not only get the best workout possible, but also a great tool. The mobility bands, I mean, they have it all. That's why we love these things. Yeah.
We're moving on to our two next exercises, which are also going to be supersetted. It's going to be internal rotations and chest press. With the internal rotations, in the past, we've suggested maybe tying your mobility band to a J-hook in the ceiling or a power rack. Not everyone has those two things, but we are very happy to say we have solved that problem with the Buff Dudes door anchors. Hell yeah. Bingo, we're done. We're ready. Tie it around, just like so. You're welcome. It makes us really happy to finally have exercise equipment. That's been a big goal of ours for years and years, and it's a lot like working out. You start small and you take those baby steps, and then you can look behind and go, I've made quite a bit of progress. So for us to be able to now sell our own bands and our own door anchors is a huge source of pride. And for those of you who have purchased them, we just really want to say thank you, because it makes us so happy purchasing the plans throughout the years. A lot of your guys' suggestions have helped make those things better, and it's really helped to get us where we are now. So Buff Dudes don't cry, but we just flex.
What is the word cry? I've never heard that word before.
I just taught Brandon a new word. So we're going from the internal rotations to the chest press. With the chest press, you do not need a door anchor. You just need your body. Ooh. It's gonna be 4 sets, 12 reps each exercise. And with every exercise, a lot of them are gonna require different band sizes. For instance, the one that I used with internal rotations was much too light for the chest press, and likewise, the weight for the chest press is much too heavy for the internal rotation. So you wanna find the band that works for you. The nice thing is they're so easy to switch out, throw around and grab. It's never that much of a problem. Like this. No harm done.
That pairing, the internal rotations paired up or supersetted with the chest press, is an amazing activity in the chest. The internal rotations with the pectoralis major connecting onto the humerus, and it's going to be kind of pulling the humerus or rotating it inward, internal rotation there to really pull the humerus and rotate it. That's really gonna contract the pecs there. Kind of more like an isometric, you know, there's no pressing, there's only that rotation, so the chest pulls it into place, and really doing kind of like a burnout there, a pre-exhaustion in their internal rotations, then immediately moving on to a bigger compound movement like the chest press there, which is involving the course flexion of the shoulder, but also the extension of the elbow. So you're hitting that chest, you're hitting the triceps, the shoulder, and you're really putting a lot of weight on it. Like Hudson was saying, you go heavy in the band, and you really feel that chest fatigue and burnout a lot quicker than you normally do if you did the chest press alone. So that's one of the reasons why we do pre-exhaustion sometimes is to really target a specific muscle group first, then going on to the compound. It's already a little fatigued, so you feel that much more fatigued, that's much quicker. And you're really getting not only that mind-muscle connection to the muscle group you're trying to work and target, you're also really involving and fatiguing it to make sure you're kind of forcing it to adapt. Feels really good, you get that massive pump. Next up, we're getting shoulders done, and we're gonna start off with more of an isolation exercise, much like we did with the chest, and then we're moving on to a compound, and the first exercise is gonna be the external rotation. So pretty much the same exact positioning, but instead of internally rotating the arm, now we're externally rotating. And what that's gonna target is a lot in the rotator cuff. With the rotator cuff, it's excellent to help stabilize the shoulders, to continue that shoulder health. So it's always good to pay a little bit closer attention to the rotator cuffs to make sure they're strengthened, make sure they're taken care of, and the external rotation's pretty much the perfect exercise for that. And one thing you have to remember is you don't wanna put too much weight on it. If you're putting too much weight on it, you're really gonna strain to externally rotate your arm, and a lot of other muscles are gonna start taking over to make sure you can bring that arm into the external rotated position. So you wanna keep it a little bit lighter. As you can see, we're using the lightest band here and stepping, somewhat close, but just enough where you'll feel a little burn in the back of your shoulder there. You can see I'm kind of placing my hand in more of a supinated position, my thumb facing out, and keeping my elbow right at my side and slowly externally rotating my arm out. What you don't want to do is pull your elbow away from your body and start doing this kind of thing. You really want to focus on just like that. You can even kind of hold your elbow in position or at least touch it to your body to make sure it's always there. It's not a super far range of motion, but you do want to rotate as much as you can. Slight hold. Again, feel that burn in the back of the shoulder blade area. Nice and slow and controlled. And again, you'll know you're working it because you get a really good burning sensation. Kind of an area that is near the posterior deltoid there. Oh yeah, and this is a unilateral motion, going from one side to the next. And in the past, I was dealing with some issues in my left shoulder there, especially in like a lot of bench pressing. And I was feeling pretty frustrated too because I used to be able to bench a lot of weight, and all of a sudden there was a time where I could only bench like 135 pounds, and my left shoulder it would just give me so much problems. It hurt. So I started implementing a lot of mobility exercises, a lot of strengthening exercises, like the external rotations here, the LYTs. But this one in particular really helped bring that strength back into my shoulder, bring a lot better health into it as well, with not only stabilizing the shoulder, but mobilizing it as well. So my bench press feels a lot better. So this is not only good for the shoulder health in like a shoulder press, but even in like bench presses and stuff. So any really pressing motion, it's gonna help with the shoulder. So you got a little bit more of the pre-exhaustion done. The external rotations, now we're going right onto the bigger compound, which is gonna be the shoulder press. And you guys are probably familiar with this one. You're extending in the elbows, flexing in the shoulders, and a slight elevation in the shoulders at the top position there to stabilize that motion. As you can tell too, as you press up, it's gonna get a little wobbly there. So there's gonna take extra stabilization to hold that position. So maybe even hold it for like a 1 or 2 count, slowly back down and press it again. And you really feel those shoulders working. Ooh. Oh yeah. Oh, shoulders are burning.
French press, 4 sets, 12 reps. Not doing a superset with this one. We're gonna be isolating the triceps, and this is an excellent exercise for doing just that. So much like with the shoulder press, where you could take a narrow or wider stance in order to kind of increase the difficulty level, you can do the same with the French press. So if you grab a little bit more, you can kind of see there's a little slack here. It's gonna be a little bit more difficult, whereas if you grab it a little closer like this. So that's kind of the nice thing. Even if with just one band, you can make quick adjustments on the go to up the difficulty or lower it a little bit as well. And I'm feeling the difficulty level because I'm feeling that pump in those tree trunks.
Yeah! All right, neutral grip position, the hammer curls, working on the brachioradialis, the brachialis, and of course the biceps brachii as well. This is one hell of an arm exercise. Get the forearms, you get the biceps, and bam, you get a lot of bang for your buck. So as you can see, we adjusted the door anchor to more of a low pulley position there, because the next exercise we're gonna be doing is the back extension. Now with back extensions, typically you would do it on a piece of machine or a bench to support your hips, and you're flexing in your spine and extending it to the top position to really work the erector spinae muscles, a little bit in the hamstrings and glutes. So we're mimicking this a bit with this motion, but of course now we don't have the support of a bench or a machine, but thankfully you can definitely still activate that lower back big time through this. So what we're gonna be doing is grabbing both loop ends on the band. You can step away from it where you get a pretty good amount of tension in the band here, and you really want to keep your hips back and stable. So you don't want them moving too much or extending or flexing. So you really kind of keep them back, and you're going to be bowing forward and flexing in your spine. So it's a little bit rounded there, specifically more in the thoracic spine area. And then you're gonna be pulling it up through your back and arching and extending the back here. Get a really good squeeze in that lower back, especially muscles right there. Really good squeeze. You can even kind of like pull your shoulders back and your hands toward your thighs, and you get a little extra activation in your lats as well. So a little added benefit there. Bow forward, nice and slow. Extend, squeeze, and then back. As you can tell, my hips really aren't moving that much at all. Really trying to focus it in the spine area. And that's another reason why you don't want to go too heavy on these. Obviously the spine being in a flex position, a little bit more in a compromised position there, but if you go light enough and controlled enough, you're letting the muscles do their job by still supporting the spine, but also going through the eccentric and concentric movement. Oh yeah, and you'll feel them start to burn quite a bit by the end of these 15 reps. Oh yeah. That's doing its job. Whew.
That wraps up stage 2.5, day 2, upper body.
I'm ready for day 3, lower body. Hopefully you guys are too. Thanks for joining us for this workout, and as always,
Stay buff.